So my name is Beaudon Spaulding. This is Keranen. We're with Demand Key, and we'll get started.
So basically, guys, what we're going to do today is we're talking about the social graph and actually all things social and how they come together. And so our number one topic is, and you'll probably hear it throughout this whole conference, is lots of different words that are being thrown out, whether it's engagement or creating opportunities for you, so on and so forth. For ours, it's not just about sharing or getting people to share with you. So when we're talking about beyond the like button, I think that's really the key point here, is that we're actually going to share a couple of examples, real-world examples that we're using in our own business, as well as a bunch of things to hopefully get you started thinking about opportunities for you. So whether you're an advertiser looking for people that are going to come to your product or service, or if it's a brand new opportunity for you to open the door, I think that's really where we're focused on. So the number one question I'd ask you to ask yourself is, what's your outcome? I think a lot of people start off and they assume, well, I'm going to add a like button to my site, or I'm going to do something with the Open Graph, or I'm going to pick one of the social plugins, but they really don't understand what it is that they're trying to do to begin with. So for us, I think the number one question that we always ask our customers, and also would ask you to ask yourselves, is, what is it that you're looking to do with this? And I think that's what we'll start with. And why don't we just dive right into what we believe is the most important part of that, and that is what we call a little bit of love, okay? Love's definitely our little way of saying, what is it that we're going to get out of this program? What is it that we're going to put into it? And where does that start? So I'll jump through, and then I'll let Beaudon jump in. The first one for me is loyalty. And I think that's most people in the world right now are looking for, is not just a short-term solution, but a long-term solution in terms of, hey, it's one thing to acquire a new customer, it's engage a new relationship on Facebook, but it's another one to keep one. And I think loyalty is a big part of that equation.
Next, we have opportunity for newcomers or new customers. So as you're looking to retain the loyalty that you have of the existing customers, how are you going to fully capitalize on new potential ones coming through the door? And what can you do to leverage every single piece possible of those new existing customers?
And the last piece is validation from existing customers. We think actually one of the strongest attributes that the Open Graph and many pieces of the social sphere give us is the opportunity to get existing customers to validate who we are, what we sell, what we promote, what we offer in many different ways. So again, when we sat down and did this presentation, we talked about there's a lot of different ways to go about this, about what is social, how does it work, where should you get started with it. But for us, this is just another way for us to actually begin this sort of love process, right? Creating the loyalty, the opportunities, and then also validating. So let's go on from there. Maybe you'll introduce this one a little bit.
We're missing a graphic. I don't know where it disappeared to, but on the bottom, one of our clients was an electric and gas company. So they figured, okay, what can you do with an electric and gas company that would allow you to go utilize Facebook's Open Graph? Well, their whole point, as far as what do they want to get out of it, is more customers. How are we going to get more customers based on using this Open Graph? And it's US Gas and Electric was the company of which we came up with this crazy idea that, okay, let's go plant trees. You're a power company. Nobody's going to get mad at you for planting trees, so let's start with there. So for every customer that signed up, US Gas and Electric would go and plant 12 trees in the state that that person resided, besides all the other marketing pitch that they were being provided for guaranteed rates and service and all that stuff. What can I put on Facebook into someone's wall on Facebook that other people would see, it would be received positively, and they would subsequently go do something? So we allowed them the ability to go dedicate their trees online. So every single customer that signed up got an email, please go dedicate your trees. USG&E went and did this on your behalf. So here's an example.
Now, about this example, again, we're using this as a point for you, but we want you to be thinking about things that you're going to do, whether it's for your customers or for your clients, that are opportunities for you beyond the like button. So we actually use the social graph and the ability to open the door to promote this, what we really consider an offline campaign online. But the reality is whether you're using offline, online, or online, online, the reality is you want to drive them through to a couple of different behaviors. So I'm going to bounce through a couple of those, and we'll just stop at each one. The first one is loyalty. And what we said here is taking ownership of the experience. Now, this particular campaign, as Beaudon talked about, was for a gas and electric client of ours, a very large one, who had never really done online before. And we said to them, well, we've got this cool proposition of why don't we have them name their trees, okay? So now, rather than it just being a push out to someone's Facebook, let's get them doing something crafty that's going to create in the minds, hopefully in the hearts, but emotionally attach them to their friends, telling them that they're doing something. So when I say taking ownership of the experience, the wording was, I just named my trees. Now, of course, the friends, right, that are around thinking about this and looking at it are saying, just named your trees what, right? That's the first thing in the back of your mind, right? What is it they're actually doing as an activity? So what we're trying to do in terms of beyond that like button is let's use the open graph as a way to actually generate interest and create loyalty in the experience. So take this one.
Sure. As we now get into sort of rekindling the first three, and the love is the opportunity. Now our client has the ability to go reach new customers with their brand, or whatever they decide to put in here as this root URL. Green G&E machine, this is a gas company that had never taken online enrollments before, so they were very, very, no pun intended, but green as to what they were supposed to do. And we had to keep them on a very narrow focus. And based on their regulations and their industry and everything else, they took the most conservative approach possible. So in the opportunity to reach new customers, you now have this user, example user, posting it to their wall. All of their friends in Facebook now see it, and now it's your multiple of X's. So based on those friends who see it, X number of friends will see it and click on it, and therefore do another subsequent action.
And really that's to validate the experience, right? So the idea is that once they've actually put through and said, yes, I'm loyal to this opportunity. I've named my trees. I'm a part of this program. And they've given the opportunity for others to experience because they're driving the potential URL that they want you to go to, right? Well, the reality is the person, in this case, Sally Smith, decided, hey, I'm going to post this. But really what she did is she offered an opportunity for that client to go out and reach somebody new. But then even more so, she validated it with her words, right? Just name my trees, right? So she actually put her stamp on it and said, hey, I just did this activity, in essence implying you should do this too. So it opens the door that now we're not just trying to do a push, but we're actually getting people to engage at every level of the experience. As far as comment, let's talk about that for just 1 second. We said people jump in and keep the conversation going. Now this is an important step, and you've probably watched this in your own lives on Facebook, right? Is once an action takes place, the most important part of that initial action is, do other people get involved in the action? What happens from there? And when I say people jump in and keep the conversation going, they're actually warming up to the idea of what it is that Sally's talking about, and they're driving it further by getting involved in that dialogue. Again, now they start to own the experience.
Building my future mailing list, keep in mind, is not email. We're not going to get the email off of the Facebook, off the Open Graph, but it's the ability to go and to remarket and to keep the community together. And the best possible outcome we could occur is the sharing. So someone sees it, they take an action, they decide to go share it themselves on their own wall in Facebook. And in essence, keep the perpetual viral.
Go ahead. Just wait there 1 second. Let's go back one. So I think this is an important point about building the future mailing list, though. Don't walk by that. Everybody's been trying to opt people in for years and years and years, but this is your opportunity, right? That once somebody said yes, they've liked it, they've opened that door, right? For you to be able to initiate and continue the dialogue is a super important point. But as Beaudon said, the best possible outcome is for them to not only get involved and get to be a part of that list, but also go out and share that list even further.
There's stats all over the place as far as how many average friends there are on Facebook, and you'll see, depending on whatever publication you look in, one might say 300, one might say 700, one might say the average person can only manage 400 friends, even if they have 5,000. But that obviously is by far the best way possible, is that they repost it to that friend's wall.
Now, as far as a campaign, obviously we were sharing that example as kind of an offline version, because a lot of people don't think offline to online in terms of what can happen. Of course, internally, there's a lot of opportunity with your own structure right now just on Facebook, right? So I'm going to take one that's kind of near and dear to my heart that we were playing around with today. And I don't know if any of you are Oregon Duck fans here, but I graduated from there. So tomorrow night when we win the national championship, this will mean a lot more to you guys, okay? But the reality is, here's a good campaign. This was an interesting one, right? Is all of a sudden, our head coach, ESPN did something really smart, right? They posted my wall an opportunity for me to join the conversation, right? They say here, you know, hey, now's your turn to vote. You know, you give us the consensus. After winning this award that he won, you know, do you like this? You know, do you think this is a place that you want to comment? So they open the door right there, and me being a beyond loyal, Beaudon would probably say a ridiculous fan, okay? I wanted to wear my O shirt below my sweatshirt today, but he wouldn't let me. But the reality is what it did is it gave me an opportunity to jump in, which I did wholeheartedly. So
H&M, for the women in the room, H&M Clothing did this very same topic. And all they did was pose a question, where do we open our next store? And in 24 hours, they had tens of thousands of responses of where to open their next store. So to be able to go quantify all the results, it became like blindly obvious to them, all right, this is where we need to go open up our next store.
So our goal here is this is where you're getting that opportunity. I saw the original post, and it said either like or comment, right? And because I'm a loyal fan, I jumped in. I actually posted my comment to it. But even more than that, I gave an opportunity and said, you know what, I'm going to go the step further, and I'm going to share this out with my friends. So now I pushed it even farther by actually getting a whole lot of people I know involved in the structure too. So that comment spawned, and many people after that threw in their comments, which spawned, hence, you know, this word that's overused of viral really becomes real, right? People commenting and adding and bringing value to the conversation. But more importantly, you know, getting attached to it, getting loyalty from it.
Out of doing this slide we wanted to leave up for a little while so people could actually let it register. When they start putting in social plugins into sites, and merchants specifically start doing this, you have massive increases in click-through from those clicks coming. The people are staying longer, they're residing, the unique sessions are longer, the clicks are more valuable, and everybody sees net margins go up and up and up.
And we're not trying to promote Zuckerberg's master plan here, but you and I both know it. I mean, think about your own Facebook. If you head out all of a sudden to an exterior site like a CNN and you've got your, you know, social plug-in there, and all of a sudden you see friends' faces commenting on an article, you're probably more likely, more apt to jump in, more likely to participate. So we're seeing this across the board in our own clients, and we're definitely seeing it with many of the reports that are coming out for other people. Again, social plugins, there's so many different structures, right? There's lots of different opportunities to get involved. And again, tonight wasn't necessarily be a technical discussion. If you want to afterwards, you can come up and ask me the technical ins and outs of what structure or why. But as you can see, there's a bunch, whether it's the like button or it's recommendations or like box or various logins and details. The reality is what you're trying to do is drive the behavior of those three things that we talked about originally, right? The love aspect, right? Loyalty, ownership of that experience, right? And getting involved by validating it. So we believe that any and all of these can be of value to you. Again, that goes back to the very start of the conversation, which is, what's your outcome? What are you looking to do? You know, are you an advertiser trying to drive new clients? Are you like that offline example that we had of someone who's already got a product but needs to move it from offline to online? Or are you somebody who's actually online who's just trying to drive more conversation and get people committed to you long term?
We knew in this session we had roughly an hour that was dedicated, and Kevin and I made the decision to definitely keep our presentation short so we can do the most amount of Q&A possible. So for the merchants in the room,
Like button can be applied to anything. Obviously, whether that's content, product, virtually anything. I mean, think about your opportunities there to get people involved and build that, if you will, internal mailing list. Second thing, configuring the like button to show friends' faces. As we said, our stats go way, way up. Click-through rates go way up. As much in our own world as 3 to 5 times as many when friends' faces are present. So think about that as an attribute that you may want to include. And the last thing is, in terms of the plug that we said, you know, we are actually seeing more engagement. People are staying longer, and actually the real friends that are commenting and becoming a part of the discussions are no question validating whatever it may be, whether it's a product or an opportunity or a piece of content. So with that said, again, we wanted to make it short and sweet. Our goal was to give you some ideas to think outside, maybe what you've been thinking, and to really look at, you know, where can you go with your opportunity. So are there any questions that we can field or take? Any thoughts? I think our little Twitter one is not, you want to check?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's working or not.
we didn't see a feed. I don't see it.
I don't know if we're getting them through Twitter or not right now. If not, anybody have any questions, any thoughts basically on what we've said so far? Don't all start at once. This gentleman wants to go to the bar. He's ready to start. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Could you actually go back to the slide when I forget the lady's name, but bombshell up there.
Sally Smith, I believe. I think we got a shot of her at the bar too. So, 1 second, I'm getting to Sally. Bear with me. That good?
So in the post that happens right there, you kind of walk us through in terms of what would Sally have actually typed in and how much is automated from the Click plugin versus what she'd actually write, if anything.
Yeah, good point. So what we did is we took the advantage during this example of putting some words in Sally's mouth, okay? We actually went in and said, and we went through an online process. And actually, if you guys want to play around with it, you can go to greengnemachine.com as just an example. We left it open today just to have you take a look. But basically, they put in several different names. And as they named their trees, they clicked the submit button, right? At that point, we prompted them. And this, again, gets to where you guys can come up afterwards and talk to me about technical. But we prompted to see, are they on Facebook? Are they online and are they on Facebook? If they were, we took the example or the opportunity to place right there, I just named my trees. Because we thought it was a compelling opportunity for people to ask questions, right? And we also said at that point, you know what? And then we did this a little bit of A/B testing. In some cases, we actually listed the trees and the most popular trees. I'm not sure the open path, which one we left there, but I think it was potentially the list of trees. But the idea is we actually tried to think of what we'd want her to say, but we left it open as well that she could change it if she chose to do so. So we're not necessarily forcing anybody down the path that they don't want to go, but we're definitely prompting them with something we think could lead to another question or bring on a light bulb in somebody's mind. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I just, so the text underneath, like for the hyperlink,
Yes, we included that.
That's included?
Yes.
And so is the writing of blue, just name by trees?
Actually, no, that would be from her. That's where she's actually getting involved. So we actually left a little dialog box, put just name my trees, and actually filtered the unique link in there, and then we left the rest available for her to comment.
So you're really in charge then of the validation at that point, with just name my.
Absolutely. And don't, you know, people are funny, right? You know, they're going to change something if they're frustrated, right? Or if they feel like that's not accurate. They're not going to push submit. They're not going to drive it. And you'll see on that path, even though I'm not sure that that's the live path, if you want to go look at that later, the reality is we gave them plenty of places to opt out if they chose not to go that path. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's you.
So just so I got this right, the social plugin is really only linked to your personal profile, basically. That's correct. And if you click on a like button on a web page, it goes to your wall at Facebook. So my question is, does that have anything to do with fan pages, or do social plugins have in effect nothing to do with that?
Different sandbox altogether. A fan page would be something totally separate. This one, this particular use of the Open Graph with this issue, specifically puts it into the wall of that person's Facebook page.
Now,
That's the same with the social plugin's comments as well.
The comments show below, just as you would where if I share an article and someone likes it and then they comment on it and the comments keep coming, it runs sequentially right underneath it.
Now, a fan page by itself can be extremely powerful. There's no question, you know, if you can take that opportunity. What we did is we realized at this point, who's going to be a fan of a gas and electric company? Probably not, right? You know? But we said, okay, what's a compelling reason? Well, if Sally Smith says, listen, I've got an opportunity to plant 12 trees into the environment just for switching my electricity bill, done. And I get to name those trees, and they're going to get pushed to Facebook, hence we said, okay, we'll take the opportunity to take something that's pretty mundane and try to make it pretty compelling to validate again, right? And to create opportunities for new customers. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes?
Well, that's an interesting question. What I know Beaudon said to me, take that out because people are going to think that it's actually a mailing list.
Repeat the question.
What I look at is I say, why is there why is it building my future mailing list? Well, I look at it and say, once somebody's liked something, you have the opportunity that you're attached to them now. You can reach back out to them. And obviously, Facebook is allowing us to have, the opportunity to reach that person again. And so what I'm saying is it similar to a mailing list in the sense that before, you'd have to opt somebody into a newsletter or into something like that to make it work, where here, the simple like button can afford you that opportunity to actually reach back out to them.
How do you do that? How do you reach back out to them? Do you have some record of them other than doing the search?
Actually, in terms of the button itself, there's an actual feature within Facebook that you can, and I believe it's in the mail section, is it not? Where you can actually go back in and could send an update to the whole, yeah. I'll sit with you afterwards if you want to take a look at it.
Sort of an internal distribution list that you can start acquiring.
They're obviously not sharing data at this point. Okay, yes, sir.
What kind of data can you get?
Very good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, not a lot. I mean, frankly, they're kind of a one-way street. Now, this is a great debate, and probably you'll hear this a lot around the show. There's people who say, I want nothing to do with this opportunity because I can't control the environment. They're controlling the environment. For us, we look at it and say, well, we're willing to go play ball with the beast because it's where everybody's playing ball, It was funny, we sat around today at a lunch and we were talking with a client, and within 2 tables, 3 tables of us, 4 people were talking about separate things that they had done on Facebook. So to us, we look at it and say, well, we may not have the control we would have internally, but it's worth playing the game because we know it's a place that we can reach out and get results.
It's also quantifiable. So our client could clearly see how many people they signed up per week as customers, how many people of those customers went in and dedicated trees, how many people posted it to the wall. So internally, our client was able to look at a lot of metrics and say, is this working or is this not working? And what wasn't working, you could go fix. But it allowed them in essence, to not have to go spend money on media because they're already getting it by having it posted in that person's wall.
Now, clarification, a lot of that happened on our end as far as that reporting.
Right.
We were reporting to them the activities taking place before it reached Facebook. But the power in it came in the fact that, number one, they had people validating the process, and number two, they had brand new people clicking on that link and saying, what's this all about? You know?
And when you do the numbers, that company did anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 billable customers a week. So if you take even 3,000 who are automatically enrolled in this program just for doing it, because they had both online and offline methodologies of generating customers. So if you take 3,000 people a week and you send an email to 3,000 people a week to specifically go do this, the actions you're going to see on the back end of those people who go post it is, exponential. Other questions?
Other questions?
What's to stop Facebook from killing it altogether?
Great question.
Nothing.
You know what? The reality is they own the keys to the car right now. They own the experience. I'll only say this is that, we've been doing some things that I haven't seen a lot of other people do. They have a couple internal companies like Zanga and otherwise that are obviously pushing. I mean, nobody's ever gotten a mafia war deal in here, have they? But, the reality is, right, there's certain experiences they own. And they're definitely, with their affiliation with the new, S Fund, I'm sure there's going to be many other affiliations like that they're going to own. But for us, what we're saying is, okay, again, is it worth the business risk to actually engage that audience beyond that? And our feeling is yes. And the same for these guys. They didn't have an online presence. They were looking for an opportunity. And I think one other thing for many of our clients too is that social's a great big void for them. They don't know, they'll come to us and say, hey, I just set up my Facebook page. Now what? Hey, I got a Twitter account and I've tweeted 5 times and now what? Nobody's showing up there. It's weird. Like nobody's tweeting me back. And well, you're a gas company.
Right.
Nobody cares, So I think again, you got to start out with what's that outcome and, for you have to assess that of, hey, is it a place for me to go and try to create that connectivity?
In your opinion, what's next? Like 3 to 5 years down the road, with what you see, what's next? If Facebook continues to have total control over it.
Go ahead.
Because of the success of, when they introduced this concept last April, May, something like that, and it really started to take hold June, July, August, when major merchants started doing it with Coca-Cola and Starbucks, H&M. Major brands started doing this and stepping back going, wait a second, this is amazing. We've got all of this exposure and we didn't have to pay for it. That's where I don't think you'll ever see them shut this off. The biggest concern that we had in the very beginning, of which this particular client is very heavily regulated with the attorney generals of every state that they operate in. And the AGs look at the utility industry as basically a piggy bank. If they screw up, great, it's a $100 million lawsuit out of the gate. So the privacy-wise, their legal was like, well, do we have any issues whatsoever with privacy concerns? And the way that they structured this, no, you don't. There's no issues at all with privacy basis because 100% of the onus is on the user who's going to go do it. So they're not forcing anyone to do it, and they're not incentivized in any way from monetary. I mean, we're not giving them a free iPod or a Walmart gift card. So I don't think you'll ever see it go away in the next 2 years. They might modify some of the parameters of it, and that probably relates to the amount of data that they're not going to give you back. Where now they will, 2 years from now, they may not.
And our belief is this is probably the reason why they're not going to make big changes, right? They've got enough large properties vested in this operation now that I think it will be very difficult for them to do anything radical in terms of the controls. They've got to kind of stay the course, I think, otherwise it may be detrimental to them. But, Beaudon just said something that I think is really important about it is, security and a lot of these things of privacy and things that we've been reading about and are on the news all the time about what kind of controls do they really have. Well, at the end of the day, for us, we looked at our clients and said, let's give them the ultimate opt-out. And if you go to that path, you'll see that opt-out. I mean, they can choose at any time to say no. And before we even get to the experience, we're actually selling that opportunity to say, hey, if you don't feel this and this isn't where you want to head, feel free to go the other direction. And I think that's probably something you ought to consider for your clients or as an advertiser. What other questions?
How do you measure the like button as the second referral source?
I'm not sure I follow you. Say again?
On MBA.com, so like button is second number 2 referral source. How do you?
I have no idea what number 1 is, if that's what you're asking.
No, but how do you get numbers to back that up?
You know, actually, this came off of a document that we had basically around it, and I'm not sure exactly how they got that result, because it doesn't give you, we track on our side, you know, who we've pushed there, but as far as referral source back, I'm not sure if we can get that stat or not.
That would be something the MBA could answer directly. That would
Yeah,
be there.
but-
As far as how did they quantify what number 2
Yeah.
was? Where was
They
it
have to
coming
be
from?
doing it on their end, is what I'm saying. I don't think there's a statistical data there.
Well, how it happened in our side, because Twitter was the number 2 source, and then once we added the Facebook like button, it ended up becoming the number 2 source. And how we did it, was in the referrals it would show facebook.com/l.phd, and anything with that link is mostly.
So it's driven off a link.
Quantifying back.
Yeah. But it's still reporting on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what the gentleman was asking before was, is there an internal Facebook metric that they're giving back? And the answer is no, right? So we're always doing that tracking for our clients, and I'm sure that's what you did for your own company is, you know, when you're pushing people there, make sure you track all that to see what's happening on your own metrics. But thank you for adding that. Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a lot of companies are doing the, hey, like us or follow us, and then we'll do something. Is there some easy way using FTML or Facebook tools or something else to extract people who like or follow that did something as part of a particular promotional type of thing?
Wish there was. Keep pushing them to do it. Anybody have any of those? Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, question one more time just so I can repeat it correctly.
I was wondering if there were, like companies will do a, hey, follow us on Facebook and we'll do something, insert whatever promotional kind of thing there. Are there easy ways to extract when you run those promotions who's doing that? It seems kind of cumbersome.
Okay, so what he said, so you can get it on tape, is that when someone is actually choosing to like something on Facebook, is there a tool on Facebook to extract who's liking? You know, is that correct?
Yeah, well, specifically as part of a particular promotion, like us during this window, the first 50 people or 100 people to do this, we'll do X, Y, or Z, whatever that could be, whatever works for you. There's some easy way to get that, so that then you can do something. And right now, what we're doing is just a little kludgy, and I'm looking for a better way.
Yeah, there's unfortunately, this is where we kind of run the risk, as this gentleman said over here, of not having a lot of controls. You know, internally, their reporting only goes so far. And again, I think at some point, will they be forced by the audience to refer the likes who likes down the line? I think that could be an opportunity. But right now, they're not very good in terms of giving you those metrics, so no.
It's a brick wall.
Yeah. Again, when you talk about timelines or a certain type of promotion, you know, I think that people are testing theories right now. People are trying to find what will people like. And just step back for a second. I think that's an important question back to our very first one of what's your outcome, right? You know, what is it that you're trying to get accomplished? Because I think a lot of times, and we see this a lot with clients, just like we see them set up a Facebook page and assume someone's coming. They set up a campaign and they assume that people are just going to like it because it's new. And I think that's not necessarily where you want to come from. I think there's got to be a purpose behind your campaign. And defining those goals in advance is critical. So I'd really focus around what is your outcome.
Anyone else? You guys all look like you have
Very back of the room
blank
there.
stares.
I'll try to be loud. What kind of results do you see, performance-based from getting, a lot of likes? Do they convert well? Do they generate sales? Or are they mostly just worth getting compensation?
In this particular instance, it resulted in enrollments. So it's going to depend on the merchant or the advertiser that's going to go push that campaign and what is the call to action in it. What do you want to get out of it? They had, in essence, probably I would say the second hardest call to action, which is an enrollment, which requires somebody to go get their utility bill, grab their name, address, and city, state, zip phone, go back to the enrollment process, see if they fit within their service grid of what they have. Whereas if you had a much simpler call to action, it's a dial this number, it's a click this button, it's a click on this link. The more simple the call to action is, the higher that metric is going to be.
But I would say one thing. This is very early, and right now, by comparison, we chose a couple campaigns that we know on our own have created results. But I would say it's early. I don't think a lot of people have created results from this yet. I don't think conversions are happening as the norm. I'd say it's just getting started in its infancy. And again, this is where I sort of push everybody to think beyond the referral of someone to come to, Mafia Ward. I'm not dismissing Zynga's incredible growth. But I'm just saying I think that people haven't been very creative yet in terms of figuring out, and that's why you guys are in the room, right? You'll come up with the next great campaign that nobody's really thought about. And I think that's where we're saying at the start, hey, listen, this button is movable. Content, imagery, put it where you think it's going to get a result. Put it where you think you can create value, both short and long term, and I think that's going to be the winning strategy. So, yeah, it's out there to be had. Whoever comes up with that one, give me a call.
John, you're quiet. Any questions?
Any other questions, guys?
Yep.
What's the relationship between the like button and Google Analytics? So if people like something, does that increase its increase the Google page score?
That's a good question.
Very good question. I have no idea if there is a tie or not.
We're going to go to defer to the audience. Anybody know that answer? I'm sorry, one more time.
So the question is, any relationship between the Google or the Facebook like button and Google Analytics, specifically the Google page score? So a lot of people know.
I would have to say no myself, but
Not yet.
the idea was, the question though, real quick, was does the like button have any tie into Google Analytics? And the answer. No, I don't believe so. If you're saying will it affect your page score because of the number of likes you have, I believe the answer to that is no. Yeah, and if anybody has an answer that's different, feel free to voice it, but I don't believe so.
Yes, indirectly, yes, because the more amount of shares it is getting, obviously it's getting more exposure, so you're probably getting more backlinks. So in that sense,
Yeah, okay,
getting more exposure.
so yeah, directly no, indirectly absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think the main thing that for us to leave off with, and I'll let you say a couple extra things, but our whole concept here is one thing. We're into looking for value, which has been since Business 101 dawn of time, right? So use this as an opportunity to open that door, but treat it the way you treat any other campaign. You're not going to just show up and have somebody like and have a winner. You know what I mean? It's got to be something well thought out that grabs your user's attention and gets you the outcome that you're looking for. So,
And odds are, regardless of what vertical you're in, there's a very, very significant chance none of your competitors are using this yet. So for those in the room, you have a clear advantage and a head start based on the fact of the rest of the industry. So thank you guys very much for coming to the Affiliate Summit, and we'll wrap it.
we'll be here to answer questions if you need to.